Hey everybody, how are you? Happy Thursday. Let's make sure that I am actually live. So let me check my phone really quick. Let's make sure things good to go. Okay. Yay, looks like I am live. Awesome. So if you are hopping on, if you will please say hello. Drop that in the comments. Tell me where you are tuning in from. Just tell me your state. That would be amazing. And as a reminder, I am streaming via StreamYard. So you have to give StreamYard permission for me to be able to see you. So hi, Laura. I see you're here. That is great. Awesome. How's your week going? So we're almost near the end. Tomorrow is Friday. So tell me how your week is going. Awesome. Here we go. Perfect. Let's turn this volume off here so I can see what we got going on. Yay! All right. So, again, if you're joining me, if you will drop, say hello, drop the state that you are joining in from. I am joining you today from my home office, so I'm not in studio today recording. Crazy day and didn't have a chance to run upstairs to that. So you're going to deal with me in my home office today. So anyway, Laura says she's going good, submitted a huge proposal, working on a huge cleanup job, and hanging with my man too. Awesome, Laura, that is great. Laura here is a fellow bookkeeper as well, and we are in Texas. Awesome, yay. Well, guys, hello from Mississippi. I don't see who you are because it doesn't give, I guess you haven't given StreamYard permission, but that's fine. I will figure out who you are on Facebook after a bit. So it does show me on Facebook. It just doesn't show me here inside of StreamYard. So I'm going to jump in. If you are catching this as a replay at this point, if you'll hashtag replay so I can follow back up with you, see if you have any questions or anything after the live, that would be awesome as well. So today's live is all about, do you really need to hire a tax preparer for your business? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to get off of bookkeeping and accounting for a little bit today. We're going to talk about taxes. But before I do, just in case there's anyone new joining me inside the Calculated Profit Pursuit Facebook group, or I'm also in the Calculated Profit Facebook page, and I'm over on YouTube as well. So YouTube is probably the best place to go and check out previous lives. There's tons of lives in there for you to go and look at as well. But if you're new here, my name is Stephanie Manley. I am a proactive bookkeeper and a profit and tax strategist. I'm also a coach for bookkeepers. I know some of you joining me live are bookkeepers as well. And we have another group for that. So join me over in Rescue My Bookkeeping Business. But I'm going to jump in because I know that time is precious. I know it's for me and I know it's for you too. So it's tax time, right? I mean, it's February. It is like really tax time at this point. And I get asked all the time by, random people on Facebook or just people in general, like, do I really need to hire a tax professional if I have a business? So that's what I'm talking about here. If you're a business for yourself, do you really need to hire a professional, or can you DIY your taxes? And I want to break that down for you today, tell you what the differences are, what the pros and the cons of both are as well, so that you can make a more educational decision on this, a more informed decision, because you know, okay? And before I even talk about the differences, I want to tell you that I've been in this industry for 25 years. My mother was an accountant, so I grew up all about taxes, all about bookkeeping. So I think I'm pretty vetted to tell you the pros and the cons. All right. So then also, with that, not just, should I hire an accountant or should I hire a preparer, but is it going to be worth the investment to hire? Because it's a cost, right? When you outsource your finances, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's tax preparation services, it's going to cost you some money in your business. So I get asked a lot, well, is it going to be really worth it for me to hire and pay somebody versus me doing it online? And also I get asked, is my business big enough to need a professional tax preparer? And another thing I also get asked is, and I hear this a lot, like, is it really that hard to jump on TurboTax and do my taxes? Okay, so I'm going to break those down for you today. And I'm going to start with, well, what is the difference in doing a DIY versus outsourcing to a professional? Okay, so with a DIY, number one, you're in it for yourself. Like, you are going to do everything. Everything is on you. From the gathering the documents to completing the tax return to the submission of the return, everything is on you. And understanding as you go through, so if you're in TurboTax, for instance, it's going to ask you questions and you have to answer them yes or no. And you have to put information in certain boxes. Well, if you don't really understand those questions or understand what they're asking for in that particular category, then it's going to fall on you, right? Because you prepared the tax return, okay? The other thing is you are 100% responsible for that tax return. So there's nobody else that's helped you with the return, that if there's any errors that you can fall back on, right? It's all on you. You did it. And doing the tax return, you're going to go into the software, you're going to enter income, you're going to enter your expenses that you have already done the pre-work for. And remember, there's not somebody there asking you questions, right? So for example, if you're in business for yourself, and when I'm preparing those returns, I'm going to ask the client, so did you have this expense? Did you have that expense? Do you have home office? Do you have this? Do you have this? You don't have that when you're DIY. You don't have the person there that's thinking outside the box. Like, it's a computer program that's programmed to, when you answer something yes, and then it gives you this line of questioning. If you answer it no, it's going to give you this line of questioning. You don't have that person, that real person. So you don't have a professional set of eyes, and you have to do everything. Like I said, you're gathering the documents, you're figuring your numbers, you're putting in the credits and deductions that you see that you should get, right? So it's all on you. And if you have questions as I'm going through this, please pop them in the comments so I can answer them for you as we go. That's perfectly fine. So that's what a DIY is. It's all on you. You do everything, right? And it's also usually pretty time consuming for a business to do the return in an accurate way. Now, for a professional, they pretty much handle it for you, right? So it can go all the way from you gather all the documents, you hand them to the preparer or upload them to the client portal, like in my case, and they do the rest. They ask you those questions. They go through the deductions. They go through the credits. They do those things, right? And most preparers should know all the new tax laws, the new credits, and know how to maximize those deductions for your benefit. Because maximizing the deductions equals a lower tax liability, which equals either a larger refund or less money that you owe in taxes, right? But you have to maximize those credits, maximize those deductions, and in order to do that, you have to know the tax code. And guys, if you didn't realize how big, like, tax code is ridiculous. Like, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of tax codes, and they change every year, right? So it's super, super important. And then also, when you're vetting out a preparer, you go that route. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later. But I want to make sure that when you do, like, you hire a preparer that specializes in business returns. Because not all preparers specialize in that, right? Some preparers, like if you go to a big box store, I'm just going to call it that, right? Then a lot of those preparers are only trained to do simple returns, W-2s, child, like that kind of thing. They're not specialized in knowing all the different avenues that you can take for a business. And I know this for a fact because My mother was a franchisee for one of those big box companies, and we hired and trained, okay? And I promise you, they are not trained on businesses, right? We had only certain few people in our stores that knew how to do business returns, okay? So make sure you're watching that. Also, make sure that they know how to do tax planning, because it's not just about this year's tax return. It's also someone that you can go to help you plan for the future, right? So that you can avoid paying taxes the next year. So make sure you ask them that. And so when you're vetting out a preparer to do your taxes, I want you to think about your preparer being your doctor. Okay, so use the analogy as your tax preparer being your doctor. So would you just Google primary care in your area, right? Laura says she's in Texas. So wherever you are in Texas, Laura, would you just Google primary care doctor in Houston, okay, or whatever, right? And then just click on that, okay, that one looks good, Dr. Smith, I'm going to go see Dr. Smith. And you're going to go to Dr. Smith, not asking Dr. Smith any questions, not asking for a referral, like asking your neighbors who to go to. You're probably not going to do that. And I don't want you to do that for a preparer either. Like, it's that important that you really vet out your preparer. So I have a few questions that I want you to ask, okay? So the first thing I want you to ask them is, how long have you been in business? So if they're self-employed, how long have you been in business? How long have you been preparing tax returns, right, yourself? How long have you been doing that? See, Laura says, nope, sure wouldn't do that. Exactly. Then I want you to ask them, what types of returns do you specialize in? So ask them. So it may say, okay, yes, I do business returns. Okay, well, that's great. Well, what kind of business returns do you specialize in? Is there any industry specific? Because trust me, every industry has specific tax deductions for them, right? So if you are a consultant, you're going to have different deductions, and your return's going to be totally different than if you were an electrician. Totally different. So I want to know, if I'm an electrician, do you do other electricians' returns? Do you know how to do those? Or do you simply just do consultant returns? All right. I want to know, too, I want you to ask them, are they going to be there after the return is submitted? Okay. So a lot of tax preparers are open January through April, and they're gone. You don't see them again until January of the next year. So ask them, are you going to be around in November? If I get a notice from the IRS, are you going to be around in November if I get a notice to help me with that? That's important to know up front. Do they help with tax planning? Again, I just talked about that earlier. Super important. Do they do tax planning? And if you ask them that and they look like a deer in headlights, the answer is no. They don't have a clue what you're talking about. All right? And do they specialize in finding all the deductions for your business? Excuse me. So even if you don't think about them, are they going to say, so do you work out of your home? Did you keep up with your home office deductions? What about mileage? The type of work that you do, I'm sure that you have mileage. Do you have mileage? You see, you want somebody who's going to go that extra mile for you. I would also suggest that you ask them if they can help you with bookkeeping. And are they going to be there? Again, I said this earlier, but are they going to be there for you after the sale? So are they just there to do your taxes, collect your money, and go on about their business? Or are they going to become part of your team where you can email them or call them or whatever and ask them questions throughout the year? That is important when you are in business, okay? So now you know the difference in DIY. DIY, you're on your own. You do everything, right? Versus hiring a professional that, if you vet them correctly, will be there, will be a part of your team, will help you to navigate through this and do 99% of the work for you, right? Now, I will tell you that if you're going to go the preparer route, that does not mean that you do not have any liability on your tax return. You still sign the form saying that you understand that tax return, okay? So another thing to check into is, don't sign a tax return unless that preparer has went through that complete return with you, right? Your preparer should not say, hey, Laura, and I'm using an excuse because you're the name I see here. Hey, Laura, so you owe $2,000. Or, hey, Laura, you're getting back $2,000. Sign here. No, that is not what good tax preparers do. Good tax preparers go through that tax return with you line by line and explain it to you, right? So these are your wages. This is your interest. This is your business income, and this is how it came up to be this. These are your deductions, right? This is your standard deduction or your itemized deduction. Here's your kids, and they got you so much in child tax credit, right? All the things, they should explain that to you. They should not just be giving you a number and saying, sign here, okay? So the next question that I get asked is, should I hire? Well, as a tax professional for over 25 years, I'm going to tell you 100%, yes, you should hire, outsource your bookkeeping, number one, but your tax return for sure as well. So for me, in my opinion, you should hire as soon as you can afford one. And I get sometimes it's expensive, right? Tax preparation is expensive. And it's expensive because as a preparer, it's more than just entering a few numbers in a software system. It's not that way, guys. And that's a total misconception. Where you're just throwing a few numbers in a computer system and it spits you out a refund or balance. No, that's not how it works, right? If you go and you have your hair highlighted, ladies that are in here, it's more than just they throw a little bit of color on your hair, right? Or if you get a perm, it's a little bit more than that. They have to have the knowledge behind doing those things. Same thing with your preparers, same thing with your bookkeeping. They have to have the knowledge. It's not just throwing numbers in a system for it to spit back out a number for them, okay? So yes, I understand that tax preparation is costly. However, if you have a good preparer, 9 times out of 10, the cost is going to be less than what they're saving you. Okay, so they're going to save you typically more in taxes by hiring a professional than it's going to cost you. Okay, so but if you do decide to go the DIY route, keep a few things in mind. Okay, first thing is I want you to do your pre-work. Pre-work is super important. And that means before you even log into TurboTax or wherever you want to go online to do your taxes, before you even open the software, I want you to make sure you've gathered all of your income and all of your expenses. And if you're in business for yourself, you need to make sure that you've categorized those things, that you have maximized on all the deductions that you can claim, right? So remember, one of my rules is if you're in business for yourself, you should have separate business and personal checking accounts. So you're able to go straight to that business account. If it's in QuickBooks, maybe you use my calculated tax planner, which is amazing. If you haven't looked at it yet, you should. But you need to go there and you need to make sure everything is in there, that you've taken account for all of your income and all of your expenses. Because guys, if your income doesn't match what the IRS says, well, guess what? You're going to get a letter. If you claim more deductions than you should, guess what? You're likely going to get a letter. So make sure that is correct. Make sure you're not missing anything. Then go find a reputable software. Again, TurboTax is fine. And then with TurboTax, they do have a feature where you can have a preparer look at your return. Now, does that mean that that preparer is going to dig deep for deductions for you? No, not at all. They're just going to skim your tax return and go, yep, that looks pretty good. Looks great. Okay. But again, you input all the information. You're 100% responsible for everything that goes in there. Okay. And then also another option for you, if you still want to DIY, maybe reach out to your preparer and let them know, like, hey guys, like, I know I can't afford your services yet. I'm just not quite there, but I have a couple of questions, okay? I call it a pick my brain appointment. I actually have appointments called pick my brain, okay? And for those who are just not quite ready to pay my tax preparation fees, I get it. But they have questions like, can I claim this? Should I claim that? Are there any other things that you can think about that I need to claim? Well, that's what a Pick My Brain appointment is for, right? So 30, 60 minutes, you hop on a call and you say, hey, I'm in business for myself. I'm a consultant, and tell me some things that maybe I'm missing out on, okay? So that is one option for you as well. So that way, your pre-work, and this isn't the pre-work, right? Making sure you have everything gathered before you sit down to do the return. So maybe do a Pick My Brain appointment with a tax preparer that you've vetted. So not just anyone that you Google and say, prepare in my area. Make sure that you actually vet that preparer before you do that. Okay? Also with your DIY, I want you to take time inputting the data. Go slow. Doing a tax return is not something that you should do while you're cooking dinner. It's not something you should do with your 2-year-old toddler running around in the room with you. It is something that you should do privately. You should set up, several hours to get this done so that you know that it is accurate. Make sure that you understand the questions before you answer them in the software, and make sure when you're done that you review the return for accuracy. And one of the tricks I will tell you on that is to pull out last year's tax return, right? And look, compare the two. So if you're filing your 2021 return, just an example, and you're getting a $4,000 refund, and you know that your year is roughly the same as it was last year, like not much has changed. But in 2020, you owed $4,000, but now you're getting $4,000. Well, that's a big jump. That's an $8,000 difference. So go line by line on your tax return and compare. See what's so different. Okay, it still could be right, but compare last year to this year. Okay, any questions? I'm not seeing any questions. I'm seeing people hop in and out, but I don't see any questions. If you have them, drop them for me. And then if you decide to hire a professional, I want to kind of go over a couple of things, because I hear this too. Like, there's letters behind some people's names and there's not letters behind others. What's the difference? So I want to tell you that. So the first is going to be a CPA. That's your certified public accountant. This means that they have passed a state test, not federal, a state test, and they usually specialize in tax, accounting, bookkeeping, okay? And they're usually, and I say that, and I don't know how to put this, but most CPAs don't specialize in small business returns, right? Most CPAs specialize in corporate or, banking, like that kind of thing, right? Because that's where the money is. That's where they specialize in those things. So just make sure you know that. Then you have an EA, which is an enrolled agent, and an enrolled agent has passed a federal test. Then you have a registered tax preparer. These preparers have the same credit hour requirements for continuing education as CPAs and EAs. So we're required to take the same amount of continuing ed every year. And we have passed a test that is administered. So we are registered with the IRS as a registered tax preparer. And then you have unregistered preparers. So those are preparers who have knowledge. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. They just haven't taken a test necessarily or had those credit hours. Okay. Now, there are some CPAs, EAs, registered and unregistered that I would never have touched my tax return. Okay. Because I have vetted them and I wouldn't want them touching my return. Right. So just because they have the credentials does not necessarily mean that they are the best person for the job. The same case, just because they don't have the credentials does not mean that they're not the best person for the job. Okay, so just remember that. And then other things I want you to consider when you're looking at DIY versus outsourcing your tax preparation is your emotional well-being. That's one thing I want you to think about. And what I mean by that is, when you think about doing your own taxes, does it give you this weird feeling in your stomach? Does it keep you up at night? Do you dread doing your tax return? Do you worry about an IRS audit? Okay, those types of things. And then, do you know how to maximize your deductions for your taxes? Do you know all the deductions that are eligible for you or available for you in your business, right? So there are lots of different things right now for small business owners due to the pandemic. Those are still going on. There's still things for your tax return. Do you know about those? Are you taking advantage of those things? When you're vetting that preparer, ask the preparer, do you know about different things that are going on right now on your tax returns, credits, deductions for my small business? Do you know about those things? Ask them. And then do your homework, right? Like, go ahead and you know those things as well. So any questions, pop them here. But really, guys, it comes down to, like, what are you comfortable with? At the end of the day, it comes down to what are you comfortable with. If you're comfortable with DIY and you feel secure with that, you know that you've used software in the past and you're good, you think you've got all the deductions down, by all means, DIY, right? But if you are unsure if you're actually paying the least amount or getting the larger refund back, if you're unsure if you are really claiming all the deductions, if your taxes are accurate or not, then it's time to outsource. It's time to find somebody to help you with your tax preparation, right? So there are a couple of things that I have that will help you along the way. The first thing is the tax deduction cheat sheet. So if you are going to DIY, I would suggest that you download the tax deduction cheat sheet. It's a list of lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of deductions. That is a free download. So if you'd like that, if you'll send me a DM, pop it here or either message me, and I will get the link sent to you. And then the other thing I mentioned earlier in this live is my calculated tax planner. So that particular spreadsheet, it's really more than a spreadsheet, but that particular resource is available to you. And it's for those of you who are not quite ready for QuickBooks, right? So your business isn't quite ready yet. You're not really invoicing your clients. You're not taking payments, you know, with an invoice, that kind of thing. You just need a simple way to keep up with your income and expenses for your taxes. And that's what this is. This is a simple way to organize your income and your expenses so you have everything ready for your business schedule of your taxes. So if you would like more information on that, again, drop a comment here or send me a DM, and I will get that sent over to you as well. Excuse me. And that way you can take a look at that and get all your books up to date. So even if you are a year behind, the planner can help you 100% with that. So with that, I have kept you almost 30 minutes, so I'm a little over. I'm sorry. But if you have any questions about your taxes, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. That is what I'm here for. I want you to understand what's going on in your business, because the more you understand it, the more you can make informed decisions in your business. And informed decisions are what's going to help you grow. It's going to help you scale. But if you don't understand what's going on in your bank account, if you don't understand what's going on in your taxes, you're not going to grow to the potential that you can grow. So please reach out if you have any questions whatsoever. Let's hop on a call. Let's talk through this and figure things out. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. And I will see you again here next Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until then, bye guys.